I'm going to use this video to address the allegations made against me. Recently, to those who are unaware, I've been accused of grooming a 15-year-old boy when I was 19. That I'm some kind of predator and was aware of his age all along. This is categorically untrue and a complete lie. The supposed proof for these insane allegations is paper thin and embarrassingly wrong. I originally made a response on my subreddit, and I truly believe the evidence I provided was enough. And for a time it was. But a few days ago, a poorly written Google Doc has surfaced claiming that I have lied in my response and I'm 100% guilty. I just want to be clear, I have never lied at any point. This document is disingenuous, manipulative, and it fails to include so much of my original statement, bringing new information to light, but also making points to prove my guilt that I already proven to be untrue in my first statement. It's managed to fool so many people. Like, I see video after video of people now saying that I'm a liar.
And he claims here that Pyro could have actually been lying in his response here.
They already kind of have this notion that he did it, and he's not responding, so it looks pretty guilty on his part to a lot of people too.
Now this is the main part of the Google Doc that really set me off. I believe this piece of evidence is enough to say Pyro is in the wrong.
Whether Pyro does respond to everything, or just pulls a mini-lad and ignores it for as long as he can, is still up in the air.
This document makes like insane assumptions based on limited and broken evidence. It's not hard to dismantle it. It's just annoying that I have to be the one to do it. For those who haven't read the entirety of my original response, let me give a little background. When I was 19 and 20, I liked to take part in this degenerate furry roleplay with pretty much anyone that would reciprocate. And looking back on it now, the word cringe, that doesn't near do enough justice to how sad this all was. These conversations never led to any nudes being exchanged. It was just purely fantasy garbage, something which Ivory himself confirms.
Did he ever ask you for nudes?
No.
No.
What these people look like, their gender, these weren't variables. Like, I could have been doing this with a 90-year-old cave troll and it wouldn't have made a difference. It was roleplay after all. You're just pretending. Now it turns out my accuser, Ivory, one of the people that I've had these conversations with, was 15. That is 3 to 4 years younger than I was. It was entirely my responsibility to verify his age before having these conversations. And the fact that I didn't, that is so incredibly negligent of me to do so. I may have been young myself, but still old enough to know better. But let me be very clear. I had absolutely no idea that he was 15. I absolutely did not lie in my original Reddit post, and I would like to emphasize that. Ivory himself did not disclose to me directly that he was 15. And the evidence itself supports this too. Up until September this year, I'd be perfectly cool with him. We were still speaking and still on very good terms. However, for one reason or another, he felt the need to come out about these allegations. To expose that I'm a sexual predator, I took advantage of him, and I knew his age all along. This is all untrue, and I am amazed how out of proportion this is all blown up. Several of our conversations were leaked online by Ivory. Here's one of the more, damning ones.
I'd love for my Sona to be licking at his fat, sweaty ass while rubbing his belly from behind and then just having him gas all over my Sona's face. That'd be so nice. Or if mine was just underneath him, getting railed underneath his huge belly, and your Sona could be gassing non-stop as he fucks mine like... Huh? Well, to be honest, I'd pick you up, hug you while... to be honest, I'd pick you up, hug you while rubbing you against my huge, sweaty moobs, then kiss your cheeks, telling you how much I loved you, and then kiss you on the lips and let out a hard, long belch into your mouth. Come on.
Literally DeviantArt here. My God. He's provided a lot of proof like this to show how much of a degenerate I was. And I mean, I agree, you know. You got me. Now, the whole world pretty much knows what I jerk off to. But what he and no one else has done is come close to substantiating how this constitutes as grooming. Ivory himself even struggles to explain how what I did was grooming.
How were you groomed?
I was...
Because you don't need to be groomed for this to be wrong. I mean, is it really fair that you use the word grooming? And if that's true, if you feel that's true, where was this going?
I'm not like, I don't know. I was in a call with my friend when I like typed it out, and I typed like, I remember I typed that and asked like, is that okay?
Because it reads
Yeah,
more
that's
like a
the word
YouTube
is.
like thumbnail. Do you honestly believe? Did you not understand the definition of the word?
I feel like it was like forcing or like manipulating a child into a like sexual situation.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's what that word means to me.
To disprove this, I'd actually have to see something to disprove, but there's literally nothing. It's a blanket statement of Pyrocynical groomed me. The only thing I can possibly think of is inviting him and a bunch of other people to an event in the UK. And somehow this got spun as me buying him a plane ticket to fly him out to have sex with him.
Even if he lied, which can't be proven, a 20-year-old guy flying a 16-year-old boy out to fuck him in England. I don't care what the lie is. Most people find that disgusting, and that's why Pyro's losing.
Sive, PewDiePie's editor, is one of the many people I invited to this event, and he agrees the claim is just complete bullshit.
I never thought in my life I'd have to ever justify something like this, but I do remember back in 2017, Niall invited me and a bunch of other people to drink with him. And I remember telling Niall very last minute that I couldn't come, so I pretty much flaked on him. To say something sexual was going to happen in a very public event with a load of people, even people Niall didn't even know and wasn't really close with, it's just false. Seriously. There's just no question about that.
I really don't understand how you can reach the conclusion that I invited him just to have sex with him. I invited him casually. No plane ticket was purchased, no specific handmade invite was sent. It was flippant, nonchalant, and that exact same invite was copied and pasted word for word to dozens of people. Ivory himself even said he did not get any sexual tones from this.
When he invited you, was there any kind of indication that it was sort of a date in any way? That there would be a wink-wink, date-like act with sexual interaction? Did he give you that idea at all?
He didn't, like, if he was, I didn't pick up on it.
I mean, yeah, we shared some fat furry art, we had some weird fantasy roleplay, but there was no sexual interest. There were no nudes exchanged. His name, his appearance, it wasn't important to me. I didn't even know what he looked like at this point. I mean, if he linked me a picture or something, I would have forgotten it because it was just that irrelevant to me. But I'm going to jump right ahead anyway and invite him to come over just for sex. Okay, now this document, it tries really hard to prove that I knew Ivory's age, despite the fact that they have nothing concrete. Pyrocynical never saw any of the tweets of Ivory explicitly saying that he was 15 years old on an account Pyrocynical follow and interacted with regularly. They then provide a list of Ivory stating his age multiple times on Twitter. So if I'm so sure that I didn't know he was 15, how would I have missed this? This is something I said in my original Reddit statement. He never once disclosed the fact that he was 15 at the time these exchanges commenced. He didn't include his age in his bio until he was 16, but I was not on Twitter between the 28th of December 2016 until the 29th of June 2017, as I was suspended. It would have been a hell of a lot less likely for me to see all but one of these tweets that's been used as evidence in this Google Doc. My Reddit post clearly shows that I was suspended from Twitter at the time that they were made. And that of course leaves the very last one, but like, what are the chances of you catching one specific tweet when you follow hundreds of people? I brought this up in my Reddit post as well, but it's been deliberately left out as some like shit attempt at manipulation. I find it funny, like they're acting like I'm hiding something when ironically that's exactly what they're doing here. Literally all they needed to do was read my Reddit post. It's not even that long, man. It's a page. The next 2 points the doc makes are so interchangeable, I'm just going to tackle both at once. Pyrocynical never saw the initial DM from Ivory saying he was a minor. Pyrocynical never saw the DM where Ivory sent him his Twitter profile clearly stating his age. The next part really confuses me because now the claim is because he linked his Twitter, which had his age in his bio, I now retroactively know that when this message or that message was sent, I knew he was 15. What? When Ivory linked me his Twitter profile, the age in bio says 16. This is something I acknowledged in my Reddit post, but to be fair, I probably didn't elaborate enough on it. In retrospect, I never should have continued the furry stuff with him once I learnt of his age, even though at the time I didn't see it as a problem. Legally, age of consent is 16 in both my country and his state. I didn't consider the age gap significant enough because what we were talking about and doing was so far removed from actual sex. It literally was just fantasy furry garbage because I didn't consider Ivory sexual in any way in person. I never had a plan to progress our friendship into something more, and I never considered it an issue. I understand though that, this is going to be one of those weird grey areas where people are going to agree or disagree. I think it's a combination of all of these variables coming together, which led me to believe at the time there was nothing wrong from a moral standpoint. As for the other message, I don't remember seeing this message, and I'm not sure why it's being used as proof that I knew he was 15, because if you compare the dates, this message was sent 2 months after he sent me his link with his age in bio. The last 2 points for this segment, I want to tackle both at once here as well. Pyrocynical, who at the time was expressing interest in Ivory and being in a relationship with him at the time, which was corroborated by Pyrocynical's at the time soon-to-be girlfriend, still never knew Ivory's age. An age with Ida clearly acknowledged, and an age which she thought would not dissuade him from being in a relationship with Ivory. Somehow Ivory never mentioned his age, and no one else mentioned his age in the presence of Pyrocynical outside of all these clear instances, even once. So here they're trying to make it seem impossible I wouldn't have known his age, or had to do some kind of insane mental gymnastics to never find out. But if you look at the DMs Ivory provided himself for this document, you can see that he's confiding with Ida about age being a problem. Keep in mind as well, I was not in a relationship with Ida until about mid-2019. This document claims it as soon to be, but it's a whole 2 years before we actually start dating, and 2 whole years before this conversation took place. I mean, we both talked before, but we weren't close. She had no reason to confide with me with someone else's private information. So back when Ivory opened up to Ida about something private, there is no guarantee that she would have came and told me, despite the fact that this document and videos based off this document claim it as concrete, irrefutable proof.
This right here tells me that the conversation is real, thus proving that Pyro did know of Ida's age.
But the conversation was between Ida and Ivory, so, Ida may have not told Pyro?
Yeah, that claim's flat out retarded. I mean, at this point you're implying that Ida has some sort of secret vendetta to take down Pyro and purposefully withdrew this information in order to bring him down. Kinda fucking ridiculous, don't you think?
Why would Ida think to tell me about a random conversation that she had with someone over 2 years ago? The messages from Ivory regarding a relationship were completely one-sided. If it helps for context, because we're being so open here, I'm straight, IRL, I have no interest in guys. This is just purely a weird fantasy, and it does not carry over into the real world whatsoever. But one thing there is no excuse about is Ida attacking Ivory in DMs once he posted about me. What she said is deplorable, and I don't agree with it at all. It did come from an emotional place, but that is not an excuse. Now, one way the document tries to criticize my initial statement is the fact that I used evidence that was later retracted. One of them was a Twitter thread of someone trying to prove that I was innocent, and someone else is an individual that Ivory had sent kink stuff to. The thing is though, with this information retracted, my original statement isn't debunked. The document fixates on this specific fact that people withdrew information while ignoring so many points like what I mentioned earlier. On top of that as well, the person who made the thread defending me recently came out and said at no point did he actually apologize for making that thread, and his words have been twisted and put in this document to be used against him. The reason why I used these Twitter screenshots against him is the fact that I felt his accusations came from a place of dishonesty. We spoke casually on and off until September of this year. I provided screenshots of our conversations that were posted in my Reddit statement. There was no bad blood. And then when other people came out on Twitter saying that they also had dishonest experiences with him, I used that to further my own belief that these accusations were made for the sake of it. Me including the anecdotal evidence led to the belief that Ivory lied about his age. That is never a claim I have made that he has done to me. I've only said that I did not know his age at 15, which in turn has caused more people to believe that I lied in my original statement. I just want to say though, this is not an excuse. It is entirely my responsibility to verify age. But this never escalated from two morons talking about inhaling furry farts, and I never intended it to. Ergo, grooming. There's a message that was used of me basically having a breakdown that was put in Ivory's original post, saying pretty much how everyone's going to find out and I have to keep looking over my shoulder, like my paranoia was through the roof. And this has been twisted, of course, to make it seem that I am guilty for grooming a 15-year-old. I think it's quite obvious what, I'm actually worried about. I didn't want the public to find out that I was a complete degenerate and into this like furry roleplay shit, and yeah, anyone would be embarrassed by that. I haven't had any conversations remotely resembling this for the past 3 years. But of course, I still did, and still kind of do hate myself for it. That being said, over the last couple weeks, I've learned to embrace it, because that's all I can do now. Now, this is a good time actually to discuss a Discord conversation that was leaked, where I'm asking someone for a way to like mass delete Discord messages. Very obvious explanation. I was shit scared of the public finding out that I was a complete degenerate. And, you know, pretty much just being kink shamed for all eternity. But this has now been twisted into, like, me trying to hide evidence of grooming to escape internet justice. They're trying to make it out to be far more insidious than it actually is, and it's sick. People seem to be choosing, like, what part of my statement to run with, instead of acknowledging all of it. They twist what they want to twist, misinterpret what they want to misinterpret, and then they just ignore the rest. I'm just, again, amazed how people read this document and just believed it at face value. The problem is I have with this drama that there is no middle ground. Originally, Ivory was labelled as a manipulative clout chaser that could do no wrong because people chose to believe my screenshots over his.
And you turned out to be what a lot of people were calling you from the start. A clout chaser trying to ruin someone's career on YouTube, let alone on the internet, for attention.
But now those same people are saying I'm guilty because they read this document and didn't bother to cross-reference it with my original statement.
Not only is there proof of Pyro knowing that Ivory was underage, but definitive proof that the messages were real, along with other damning evidence too.
And also, these are the same people that say, I shouldn't take my time with this response.
It's gone too far and too much has come out for him to take his time with it, like he did with his last response.
There needs to be a middle ground. I did fuck up. There is no excuse, and I am sorry for that. But I am not a groomer or a predator, and documents like these only try to show one side and build a narrative that I'm a liar when I have never actually changed my story from my original post. My mistake, if anything, was not being clearer. I have never tried to hide anything. This document has managed to fool so many people. Like, you've got this person that came to all my meet and greets and they're dressed up as my character. The effort they went to was insane. But thanks to this document, they've recently came out claiming that I was only nice to them because I had an ulterior motive. The document also tackles a tweet Ivory made where he says he hates me and I'm a leech. This was a copy pasta and it was like so easy to disprove. The majority of people found out as soon as you like copy pasted the actual tweet into the search bar. I didn't even think to mention this in my original statement because it was totally beside the point. I think it was included here as a way to make Ivory's claims seem more genuine without having to do any actual work. Why would you try so hard to debunk a claim 20 people complained about on Twitter, but yet ignore the fact that I provided exact dates of my Twitter suspension? Another argument Pyrocynical made lies in the idea that Ivory messages other people of similar age around the same time. They then show a screenshot that I posted of Ivory talking about the cringer furry stuff with someone else. Ivory then posted the rest of the conversation on Twitter, and it really doesn't change the narrative much, apart from adding that he wants to be left alone. At the time, I felt it was more than fair that I show an example of Ivory having a similar conversation with someone else, and how he wasn't affected by it as he claims he was with me. He still excused the guy, there was no call-out post on him, and I think it was fair to question that, like why didn't he see a problem? Now, I understand I have a lot more reach and power, a much larger platform, but this document goes as far as to compare me to legitimate predators like Kiwis. Someone who sent and received nudes to a 14-year-old girl, lied about it ever happening, and then his excuse was, don't trust girls.
People fuck up, like teenagers are stupid, man, and I fucked up being, it was really irresponsible. I shouldn't have trusted this girl. I shouldn't have.
They also post a screenshot of Ida saying that I did this with everyone. There's this one part of the doc that claims that people make the mistake of not watching an entire video before they pass judgment. And this is like bitterly ironic. You make that claim, but you leave so much out of my original statement. It's written with like such cruel intentions, and it waits until page 16 out of 19, only then to confirm that I never actually sent or received nudes. I like as well how they just hid it in the middle of that huge paragraph. It also tries to twist conversations like this one. Like claiming that this isn't part of the roleplay, but discussing the hypothetical of having sex with Ivory. No context, no conversation before, no conversation after. You're just meant to interpret this as 100% I wanted to have sex with him in person. This document probably never thought I'd actually respond to it piece by piece because, you know, the majority of the messages, they're so fucking bad to look at. This document is cowardly. I mean, like, the ending is no exception. Like, they don't even definitively state if I groomed anyone. They just leave enough room for people to draw that conclusion themselves without openly saying it. Even if this was made in good faith, it is a severe case of tunnel vision trying to right a perceived wrong. But I can't just sit here, you know, and let my name get dragged through the mud. On a side note, unrelated to this doc, I've actually seen screenshots circulating around of someone who drew like fan art of my Fox character back in 2016. I then apparently replied to them, like jokingly saying not thick enough, and then asking for their age, and they said 15. So when people saw this, they instantly drew parallels to the grooming allegation. I asked them for a thick version, and they drew this, which isn't even really that different from previous things they drew before even getting into contact with me. I didn't commission it. What was drawn wasn't pornographic. They'd drawn very similar stuff before, and there was no roleplay here. It was nothing. And the thing is, this wasn't even a call-out post. The person that made the original video just said it was funny.
So I'm going to address the Pyrocynical video now. This was in 2015. When this happened, I made that video over a year ago. It was not meant to be taken seriously at all. I'm also wearing the same outfit. It was just a funny story from high school, to be completely honest. That's the only thing that I meant by it. I didn't mean it to be a call-out post. The video was not meant to be taken seriously.
That being said, it was incredibly irresponsible of me and not my best look, I admit. But this isn't at all comparable to the current situation. Now, I do want to directly say something to Ivory and apologize to him and to anyone else that I did the furry roleplay garbage with. What seemed consensual and reciprocal may very well not have been. It's not my place to decide. It happened. It was my responsibility to verify age, and I never did, and I am sorry for that. You shouldn't have been put in that situation, and it was stupid of me to message people about this furry stuff without taking into account the influence of my platform, especially considering how sexual the tone of these messages were. It wasn't until later where I decided this was an issue and decided to stop entirely. I hope you can understand the frustration in my original post, but I shouldn't have attacked you, only apologise and defended myself. Now, really good closing note here for anyone that is still confused to any degree. If your accusation is solely Pyrocynical is a complete degenerate and should have not had these conversations with someone that he didn't realise was 15, you win. I can't dispute that. But if you've either insinuated, contributed, or directly called me a paedophile who groomed someone knowing that they were 15, that is a completely false claim. I've said my piece, I've admitted fault, and apologised to the best of my ability. I just want to move on from this. I want it to end. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this gives you a more widened view on the situation.